Hi, welcome back to Ask a Monk. Today's question comes from Tea Master Yoda T. Now that I'm sitting here perceiving the world and accepting what is, I was wondering how one can be really proactive as a Buddhist. Meditating and trying to unravel oneself's thoughts does seem to refrain from taking action needed to change, or not. Or not? Two things, I suppose. Three things. The first one is, I'm not going to pass judgment, but it's hard to believe that you could just sit down and suddenly start accepting the world, accepting what is. You have to understand that it's not just, it's not something that's easy to do, or it's not something that you just do. You know, sit down, okay, now I'm accepting the world, what next? The ability to accept things for what they are is enlightenment, and I suppose it's easy to think that suddenly you're accepting things as they are, but the fact that you're asking this question shows that there is quite likely non-acceptance, the need for something more. The fact that you're sitting there and saying, what next, shows that there's some need in the mind for something greater. Actually, accepting what is a state that affects a profound change on who you are. It's not just you sit there, everything else is the same, except now you accept everything for what it is. It changes your whole life. You have to go through great upheaval in your life and in the way you look at the world. It's an incredibly difficult and generally lengthy process that requires you to analyze and to reevaluate the whole of your life in terms of how you look at the world, how you interact with other people, and so on. So I wouldn't misunderstand that as soon as you sit down and say to yourself, rising, falling, or seeing, hearing, or so on, suddenly you accept things. No, what this does is allows you to see the things that you don't accept, the friction that you have, the tension that you have in your mind that's causing you suffering. That's the first thing. The second thing is the whole idea of being proactive is in many ways I would say a misunderstanding of what's good and what's right, or misreading of the world in general. The idea that the problems in the world can somehow be fixed if we all just work harder or do more. I would say that in fact most of the problems in the world come from the fact that we're doing too much, that we're seeking after, that we're trying to fix and to force and to make things according to our wishes. If you look at the rise of civilization, of human civilization, it has mostly been because of our inability to accept things as they are. Things are not comfortable enough, they're not convenient enough, they're not satisfying enough, and so we create greater and more immediate pleasures again and again, adding to the burden that we have to carry around and the burden that we're putting on the world and on the natural resources around us, instead of simply accepting things for what they are, which would leave the world in a state of harmony and peace. If we were all content and were able to to follow this sort of idea of simply accepting things, or at least understanding things for what they are, then we wouldn't have the problems that we see in the world today. Most of them. The third thing is that even in those cases where it is necessary to be proactive, where we have to help other people, or where we should encourage and support people in good things and in developing themselves and in helping the world, it's impossible to think that, it's absurd to think that you can just go out and help, and you can just go out and work in the world without any sort of training in terms of your own purification. The idea that we can just go out and help other people, and that's what we should be doing, is is fallacious, for the reason that the only way you can help people is if you are a helpful person. If you're a person who is if you're a person who has negative states of mind, what you're going to pass on to other people are those negative states of mind. If you're a person who is stressed out, if you're a person who gets angry easily, if you're a person who is addicted and attached to sensual pleasures, you're not going to go out and help other people. You're going to go out and twist and turn them for your own benefit, and harm them by your own mental defilements. And I think this is what we see. There are many organizations that claim to be doing good, or wish for good things to arise, but end up suffering a lot and having great difficulty doing what they're doing because of the conflict and the tension, the anger, the frustration, the stress, and so on that assails them in their own minds. And this is likened, as I've said before, to a river. If the source of any river or stream, a water source, is impure at the source, then all down the stream, no matter what comes in contact with it, they can't get any benefit from that water, no matter anywhere along the stream, anywhere down the river. If the source is pure, can the rest of the stream be of any use. And the same is with our mind. If our mind is impure, if we act or speak with an impure mind, then we don't bring happiness, we only bring suffering. So meditation, in that sense, it starts with a training. It starts with a personal training where you close the door, close your eyes, block out the world, and start from square one. Look at the very kernel, the source of all of your actions, all of your manifestations in the world, and start to clean that, start to purify that. As you get better at that, then you move outward, and your meditation slowly enters into your daily life. As you practice on and on, eventually your daily life is meditation. When you meet with people and you get angry, you're watching the anger, you're looking at it, and you're trying to clean that as well. You're trying to purify that. So on the one hand, the idea that meditation is only for the sitting mat with the closed door and therefore has nothing to do with the world is false. But on the other hand, that it has to start from within. You can't just go out in the world and meditate. You can't just walk down the road and say, okay, I'm going to meditate. I'm going to be mindful of everything. I'm going to consider things carefully. It's you're dealing with so many layers of dirt and defilement in the mind, and misunderstandings that exist in the mind, that it's highly unlikely that you'll be able to do such a thing, and conversely, you're more likely to harm others, to harm yourself and to harm others, and to feel bad about it later on. So retreating is coming back to the basics and starting off from the very kernel of our being, which is our mind. When we close our eyes, we start to see how our mind reacts to very simple things, reacts to the stomach rising and falling, reacts to having to sit still, reacts to pain, reacts to the building blocks that make up our everyday life. Once we get better at that, then we move out into our daily life and actually incorporate the meditation practice into our lives. Meditation should not be something that is external to your daily life, an addition or a segregated part. Your life should become meditative. If your life is not becoming meditative, you'll never succeed in the meditation practice, in becoming enlightened. Your whole life has to be meditation. Meditation is a way of life, not an addition to life. So in that sense, it will be of great value to you in anything you do. In any time you wish to help others or do good things for the world, meditation will keep you balanced and reasonable, and able to see things as they are and react appropriately to every situation. Okay, so I hope that helps. Good question. It's one that's asked often. So, yeah, there's my answer.